Today we're going to conclude a three-part series on how teaching is like peeling an onion. Today we're going to talk about balance. First, I want you to meet my teaching assistants. Meet Flossie, Freddie, Florence, and Baby. When I had a larger studio that included young children, I would often refer to them as my resident listeners and say something like, you know, Freddie and Flossie weren't quite sure where the melody was. Would you play that again so that it's real clear to them where the melody is? Or Freddie and Flossie weren't quite sure you were finished. They didn't hear a retard at the end. Would you play that again? The next level of teaching balance would be having them understand there are three ways to fix balance issues: more melody, less accompaniment, or a little of both. More melody, less accompaniment, or a little of both. I want them to write that down in their principles and memorize it, and I will go back again and again and ask them to say those and when there's a balance problem. Now, the next would be that I want the melody and the accompaniment to be two dynamic levels different. Two dynamic levels, not just one, but two. And that makes a big difference and makes a very, very effective playing. Then another level of teaching balance would be to teach them when balance is more difficult. When balance is more difficult. Balance is more difficult when the melody is not on top, when the melody's in the left hand. Balance is more difficult when the melody has slower note values than the accompaniment. It's more difficult when both hands are above middle C. And it's more difficult when the hands are close together. All these little tips are in my my quick tips book here. This is a handbook set up with A for articulation and B balance, and everything is set up in little chapters in alphabetical order. Real easy to pick up and real quick reference. Another thing would be teaching voicing. That's pulling one note out of a chord in one hand. So we have a balance issue inside of one hand. And one quick way you might teach that is just to have them release everything that's not melody. And then, of course, finally, we need to teach balance in contrapuntal music. So the first time the student encounters a two-part invention or a two-part prelude even, you have to decide which hand has the most interest. And then when you get to three-part, of course, it gets more complicated, sharing the middle voice between the hands. So I hope that helps you on teaching balance from the beginning to your more advanced students.